Hello everyone, welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you for tuning in today. I just have two favors to ask you. One, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And two, use my affiliate links whenever you're shopping for stuff. I really appreciate that. All right, so today what I'm going to cover is the new ASA or automatic shift assistant system on new BMW motorcycles that's become available, and at least attempt to answer the question, should you get it and is it right for you? And by the way, I think I just got stung by a bee as I was talking. All right, so as briefly as I can, what is BMW's ASA, Automated Shift Assistant? So it's a system where instead of having a traditional clutch lever, you still have a foot shift lever and you can shift with the foot shifter, and we'll talk about that. But what they do is the clutch and the transmission gear change actuator are electronically controlled inside there. So you no longer have your traditional clutch. The computer does the clutch for you. The bike does the clutch for you, and it makes the gear changes for you if you use the automatic mode, but there's also a manual mode. So how is this different from Honda's dual clutch transmission? Well, it is quite a bit different mechanically, because the dual clutch transmission is a completely different kind of transmission where the next gear is already like sitting there kind of ready to go, and it shifts very differently and it shifts more smoothly. So that's part of the point of this video today, is to tell you that if you've ridden Honda's DCT bikes, the ASA does not shift as smoothly as that because it is not a dual clutch transmission. All right, we're going to ride the bike. To show you the rest of this, I've switched into my helmet and into my riding gear. So how the ASA system works in reality, if you get this system on your bike, so you're going to hit the power button here. And typically the bike, when you park it, is going to be in park gear, which is first gear, and it prevents the bike from rolling. You can see it says right here P. So if I try to push the bike, it actually is basically in first gear. Now, if I wanted to put it in neutral, let's say I wanted to push the bike, but I didn't want to have to start the engine, there is actually a way to do that. It's kind of the secret way. You hold the front brake and you hold down your drive mode selector here. You'll see it goes into neutral. So now I forced the bike into neutral. Okay, and then let's start the bike and show you kind of how slow speed maneuvering and taking off works. Alright, so when you're ready to start riding, there's no button. You can't hit the button to switch into gear like you can with the Honda DCT. You have to use the foot shifter and push the bike down into first gear. Now it defaults to the manual mode. It says 1 manual. That means I'm in manual shifting mode by using my foot shifter, just like you would on a normal bike, and it works like having a quick shifter without using a clutch for the manual shifting, except the difference is there's no clutch for taking off. And so to take off, you simply just twist and go. And you can see I can go as slow as I want to. Just by gently applying throttle, I can start to move. And it's nice, it's really easy because you don't have to work a clutch lever. Now if I want to go into automatic mode, I just hit this button, and then here it says D1. Now I'm in drive mode and first gear. And now as we start riding, if I'm in drive mode, the bike will shift for me, but at any time I can switch back into manual mode. What I can also do, and I'll show you this, when I'm in drive mode, I can shift up and I can still override and take manual control by shifting the bike. Even in automatic shifting mode, it will eventually go back into the gear it wants to be in, but as you're entering a corner, or if you want to be in a different gear, the rider always has control of that. So to do low speed maneuvering here, let's say you wanted to do like U-turns or super slow, low speed kind of stuff, whether it's because you do off-road or because you need to do this in your street riding or your commuting. So what I've learned to do by riding the Honda DCTs a lot is I sort of apply the throttle and against the rear brake. So what I'm doing right now, you can't see it, is I'm applying a little bit of rear brake to counteract my throttle. So instead of feathering a clutch to modulate my speed, I'm feathering the rear brake as I feather in the throttle. Now I can let go of the rear brake and I can effectively do the same thing, but I find you have better control if you learn to use that rear brake, just light pressure, and then feed in the throttle, and you can work on your U-turn skills and stuff like that. Now, this does take learning. There's a learning curve to this. You will have to practice it because you're used to doing this with a clutch. But once you get used to this, actually, I think it's easier than using a clutch for this kind of stuff. So I'm in drive mode. So you can see I'm not doing any shifting. The bike is shifting up through the gears for me. 5th gear, and should shift. Yep, there it goes. Now we're in top 6th gear, cruising gear at 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. All right, so now we're off the highway. I want to be able to show you the shifting here without traffic behind me. So the thing is, the bike cannot see ahead. It cannot see what you see with your own eyes. It doesn't know about corners and things like that. It does have sensors to sense the pitch and the angles and all that it's going over currently, but it can't see up ahead. So you're always going to have the advantage as a human brain in that way. Also, when you're in the drive modes, and it does seem to change the shifting behavior when you change your ride modes, road dynamics, stuff like that, but it will favor high gears. I mean, I'm in 4th gear at 30 miles an hour doing 2,000 RPM. It favors the high gears for fuel economy. And there's some things that the automatic shifting, it could be done better in my opinion. So first of all, like when I apply the throttle, it's not really downshifting. I mean, it will if it's like really slow, but like right now, full throttle, and it just stays in 4th gear. It won't downshift. Whereas the Honda will if you have the Honda DCT, so that's quite a difference. Now, what I found is like coming into corners, if you tap the brake just a tiny bit, it downshifts. So it's like, oh, you're tapping the brakes, I'm going to downshift. It also knows what you're doing. If you're asking for a lot of throttle and you're riding aggressively, it will tend to stay in those lower gears. Okay, now, manual mode. So first of all, if I leave it in the automatic shifting mode and I just want in lower gear, all I do is use my foot like I normally would, and I can shift. Now, the shifts, if you shift manually with your foot, the shifts are incredibly smooth. It's like having the world's best quick shifter. However, when the bike shifts for you, let me try to show you. When the bike shifts for you, like that shift there, there's a lurch. Like, I'm being over dramatic, but there's a lurch in all the shifts. It doesn't shift that smoothly when it's doing automatic shifting. However, it's very inconsistent, because when you shift with your foot, it shifts incredibly smoothly. It doesn't have the lurching. So that's something that I would like to see improved. Now, another option is to go to full manual mode. At any time I can hit this button. Now I'm in full manual mode. That means the bike is going to stay in the gear that I have selected. So if I want to sit here at 8,000 RPM in manual mode, it's not shifting. It won't upshift. Manual mode, it does listen to you. Now there's an exception to that, which I'm going to show you. If I come up here and I slam on the brake, stop as fast as I can, the bike shifted down into 1st and engages the clutch, so it will not stall in these situations. If you had a clutch, you'd have to make sure you pulled your clutch in to not stall, but see how it just did the shifting, did the clutch for me, and I don't stall. So again, the bike cannot see that I'm going into a corner, so if I want downshifts, I either have to use my foot lever, or I just have to gently tap the brake. Gently tap the brake, boom, boom, it downshifts. So interesting, you get used to it.
All right, so what are the pros and cons to the ASA? The pros are it gives you the option to have automatic shifting when you want to, and you have manual shifting when you want that. So having that choice is great. It shifts very smoothly when you use the shift lever, the foot shifter. It makes taking off really easy because you don't have to feather a clutch, and it's almost impossible to stall with this system. What are the downsides, the things I didn't like about the ASA in this current implementation? The gear shifts are not that smooth when you're using the automatic shifting. There's a lurchiness, kind of a jerkiness to those shifts, which is strange. Also, off-roading. So if you're buying a GS to do a lot of off-roading, then don't get the ASA. because it will complicate low speed maneuvering where you need the fine control, you need that extra control of taking power off and on suddenly that you have with the clutch. You lose that control and it's impossible to replicate that without having manual clutch control. So if you're one of the few people that are going to do serious off-road with your GS, then don't get the ASA. It wasn't made for that. Another con is you will have to relearn your slow speed control a little bit instead of feathering a clutch. Now you are dragging a rear brake. That's my best way that I've found to do it for your low speed control. Now, if I was buying current new GS or an RT, would I get the ASA from myself? Yes, I would. And here's why. I like the option of the automatic shifting when I'm tired, when I want to look at the scenery and just relax. I can let the bike do all the shifting for me. When I'm feeling like I want to really ride the bike and be sporty, I switch into drive mode and I have manual shifting control. Do I miss a clutch lever? For the type of riding I do with a bike like this, I do not. Or an RT or something, no. If I was doing a lot of off-road, if I didn't have other bikes for off-road, then yeah, I would miss the clutch. So it really depends, I think, on that off-road factor. I don't see too many downsides though if you're primarily a street rider, touring, commuting, carrying passengers, doing those kinds of things. I don't see too many downsides to the ASA system because again, you've got the option of the automatic shifting when you want it, despite the fact it's not as smooth as I would like, and you still have manual shifting just like you would on a normal bike. I don't see the lack of a clutch lever as a big problem. All right, well that about wraps up my synopsis of the BMW ASA system. If you have questions, if I miss anything, put that down below. I'll get back to you. Please support the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Ride safe. I'll see you out there.